Hello and welcome to another episode of Twisty Customs. Today we're going to be looking at the HurricanE Kimber Desert Warrior conversion kit. This piece of kit retails at about $170 or at least it did when it was available. These things are rarer than hen's teeth these days. Compare that, for example, to the Nova Springfield LA Vickers Custom that I've demonstrated in some videos previously, and this one retailed a little bit more expensive, around $240 I think it was, something like that. And for that money in this kit, all you got was a slide frame, a very poor aluminium barrel, front rear sights, as well as the plunger tube and plungers, no spring mind you, and the bushings. So that was, there was a little piece that helps complete the inner chassis if you're using an older style 1911 as your donor gun. That was not a lot included in that particular kit. So the Kimber is already looking like a good deal at $170. Also compare it with this very Spartan Garda Springfield Armory kit that came with the slide, the frame, molded front sights, nothing at the rear. This is from original stock 1911. The bushings were included but not the screws or the grips, and that was it for the Garda. But this one retails at only $110 and these are still available. There's another video comparing this with the Nova kit that I've done previously. But anyway, on with the HurricanE kit. We can already see from the description that we got a slide and frame, trigger, extractor plug, chamber and outer barrel, steel magazine catch, front and rear sight, slide stop and grips. That is a lot for $170. So it's looking to be a bargain. It makes me wonder where they have cut corners, and maybe the quality isn't what we would expect. So let's jump right in, and the first thing, which is very unusual for Nova or Garda kits, is a series of instructions. You got the exploded diagram with all the various parts demonstrating what is where, and usefully there's some red stars that indicate parts in the accessory bag. So it looks like the frame screw is included. There's an O-ring to connect the chamber to the outer barrel. There's a little pin which looks like it goes in the end of the nozzle spring, and a spring for the plunger set. And those are the extra bits in the accessory bag. I'm sure we'll see those. Anyway, it's great to have some kind of instructions. As I said, that is rare for the Nova and Garda kits. So let's start with the slide and frame itself, if we can get those out. This set itself, it doesn't want to come out. This set itself came inside of a plastic box, and this cut foam is actually kind of nice, kind of premium, and that's a welcome change again. The Nova, if you're lucky, comes in a brown plain cardboard box. I've even have Nova kits come in a plastic bag, and the Garda kits also generally, the one I've got at least, came in a plastic bag. So what do we get for the Kimber? Well, already I can see something going on top of the slide. It looks, no, that just looks like glue from the where the two foam meets inside, so we can clean that up. We have the front rear sight already fitted. Well, that's fantastic. I mean, the amount of times I've struggled with other kits fitting front sights, and there's even a marking on the sight, MH3 I think it says there. There's a slot for the rear sight there. This is clearly Cerakoted, I believe. There's a little hint of some machining underneath the coating alongside the writing there, but you've got Kimber on one side, Desert Warrior on the other side, and I've got to say, the general finish of this seems to be very, very good. Inside there it says, I don't know if you can make that out on camera, it's a little dark, but it says for airsoft only. Well, that's a relief. So let's have a look at the frame. This is heavier already, so I suspect, like the stock frames, it's probably got weights inside. In fact, while we're here, let's grab a screwdriver and we can take out this grip screw and see what's going on there. Yep. Okay. So, yep, I was right. There's the lead weight. The grips themselves are very cheap plastic grips. They might have to be upgraded, and they're not actually a good copy of the real steel Kimber Desert Warrior anyway. They're close but not perfect, so if we can find something more authentic, maybe we'll put those on in the future. And a similar lead weight arrangement. That seems like an odd choice for a conversion kit, because clearly we're going to have to use other parts from the TM, so why did they put these in? But hey, you know, I'm not going to complain. The bushings are already installed, and I can see machining holes inside, so they have screwed in, but they've been installed prior to the Cerakoting. I've got more glue from the rubber, which we'll clean up later, but generally speaking, the finish is very, very nice. Again, for airsoft use only. And on the right side of the frame, Kimber, Yonkers, New York, USA, with a number, and I don't know if that's a unique serial number or not. Now, one of the things that I'm anticipating already is that holes for the hammer and sear pins, for the for the grip safety, for the mag well, for maybe the slide stop and the frame screw. These are all areas that tend to be a little bit of a tight fit, especially on a Cerakoted gun. So that'll be interesting to see how we get on with this. Let's put that to one side for now and see what else is in the kit. Well, over here, they don't make it easy to get it out, I'll tell you that much. What have we got? There we go. That to me looks like a dummy. That looks like a dummy extractor pin, if you can see that, and that'll go in the end of the slide, just here, and that will give the impression of a dummy extractor. Now, Nova has a very convoluted way of installing these. You put the piece in there and then slide the hammer protection pad, and then there's a screw that goes in from the bottom. We'll figure out how this works, but at the moment it looks like it's open to the blowback unit prongs, and it looks like there's a little stopper on the end, so I suspect that the blowback unit will hold that dummy extractor in place. We will find out later. In this bag here we have, this is the accessory kit, including what we spoke about earlier. There's a pin to go in the nozzle spring, there's a frame screw, plunger pin, spring, and an O-ring to seal the chamber and barrel. Moving on, up here we have, no surprise, we have the rear sight. Let's take a look at this. Okay, so this is not a particularly great finish. It has a stop, so it can't slide too far across the frame. It's got a big drilled out recess there. I'm not sure what that's for. And I was going to say this is almost as poor quality as some of the Nova parts that you get. The white dots aren't particularly amazing either, but hey, it's a rear sight. There are serrations, but no other markings on that. What's next? The solid aluminium match grade trigger that they were talking about. Well, that's pretty straightforward. I think I have somewhere lying around here. This is the stock TM trigger, and from the front they look fairly similar, but you'll notice that the TM is a short trigger and this is considerably longer, so it'll be interesting to see if my fingers fit. The big difference as well is that there's an over travel screw in this trigger. Can you see that under the light? but there's a hole there with a grub screw at the rear, and that allows you to fine-tune the trigger to take up any slack before it breaks on the trigger pull. But it's got the regular same front serrations as the stock TM. There's not a lot of difference. Solid aluminium. Okay, I'll believe you. Right, what's next? I can't get it out. I'm gonna have to go in from underneath this piece of foam. Right, so this is a little piece that actually was needed on the older 1911 TM frames. On the newer inner frames, you have this part of the rail, but would you believe it? This part of the rail didn't exist in years gone by, and it was necessary to take a piece like this, and you can see how it would fit into that slot to help form the function of the front left rail. Again, with the newer Tokyo Marine 1911 inner chassis, that's not necessary. Nice to have, but we don't need it. Moving on. Here is our mag catch. Let's have a look. Okay, so that's a pretty regular standard mag catch, except that it's hollow. That's a cheap Nova trick, even a 9-ball trick. They give you the mag catch, but yeah, there's no screw and spring in there. No worries. It's nice to have this little bump here. When you insert into the frame, you have to insert it rotated 180 degrees and then turn it round to get it in. A lot of people or companies that provide these mag catches cheat and don't do that. We've got serrated texture on the button, which is in keeping with the Kimber style. Again, it's steel. The quality feels about the same as the rear sights. It is what it is. The mag catch. And again, it's Kimber style. Interestingly, it has got the rotating sleeve that comes on the TM. And actually, I don't know how old this is, but there's a little bit of surface rust there. So I've got to be honest, the quality of these parts is does not feel at first look anywhere near as good as the Cerakoted slide and frame. I doubt it's Cerakote itself. It's probably some other brand, but the painted finished frame, I should say. But the machining looks sharp. It's got all the right pieces in all the right places. The quality here is, I guess, on par with Garda or perhaps Nova. I'm not a massive fan of the Nova parts anyway. I don't think they're particularly good. Certainly not in the league of somebody like Airsoft Masterpiece. But that's okay. There's a $170 kit and it's all included. There's a recoil spring. That's certainly stiffer than stock. That's really interesting. I'm just going to bring up here. This is a Waldo Snappy Boy. And when I feel the tension in that, and I feel the tension in that, I would say this feels slightly less stiff. So if the Waldo Custom is 130%, I would put that at somewhere around 120, I guess. Certainly stiffer than stock. And lastly, the chamber and outer barrel. This is steel, and at least the parts that are visible above are polished, certainly not inside. And this is 2 pieces, hence the O-ring in the accessory kit. Now, as I unscrew that, I can already feel swarf on the threads, and I'm not sure if you can see that, but there are definitely little bits of metal filings in there, which is not very good. I could feel that grating, so I might have to clean that out properly before I put the O-ring on and screw it together. Now, one of the things I did learn during my research for this Kimber kit, and that's proving to be difficult to screw back on, making sure we don't cross thread it. One of the things that had been previously mentioned on some videos about the Kimber kit was that this piece here was not perpendicular to the barrel itself, and that it was slightly off center, making it difficult to get the hop-up unit to fit and stay put, and also complaints of the barrel itself not being straight on the threads. Now, it's difficult to tell at the moment. It looks okay to my eye, but I guess we'll find out more when we install it into the slide. But it's shiny and pretty, so let's see how that works for us. And that seems to be all of the various holes. So that's everything that's included with the gun. Let's just have a quick look at what is not included. Okay. So, things that we'll be using in addition to the kit today. I have, starting on the right hand side here, I have a Airsoft Masterpiece sear spring as an upgrade from the original stock Tokyo Marine. An Airsoft Masterpiece trigger ring. And these can actually be quite tricky in that the length of them and the thickness of the metal can sometimes cause double trigger issues, and it stops the disconnect from getting up behind the sear to release it. So we may end up having to bend this forward slightly, or at the very least polishing it. We'll find out. The rear sight we spoke about. This is the internal stop that is used on some 1911 designs, and there you go, that's on the floor. And apparently on this one it is not necessary. It would normally sit just here, but this is a full length rail. There's no screw hole for that, so it looks like we won't be needing this piece. We will be using a stock 1911 blowback housing, an aftermarket hammer protection pad, I suspect, if we need it. The nozzle, we'll be using a Garda enhanced nozzle when I can find it. We have a Garda, or is this original stock? I think this might be original stock TM spring guide. It's the short version that is used in the 1911s. This one had a couple of washers from the Garda pistol I had it installed in previously. This is a stock TM barrel bushing and a stock TM guide plug, I believe. Might be Garda, I can't remember. As previously mentioned, the Waldo recoil spring. I have a spare mainspring housing unit that came from a 1911 Airsoft Masterpiece frame. That got switched out when I put in a combined mainspring housing and magwell. So this is spare, so I think I shall be using it on this build, assuming it fits. We've got hammer and sear pins that came with the original pistol. The grip pin is original. The plungers and springs will be original. We won't actually need the one from the accessory kit. I'm glad they include it in case it pings away on you. Disconnector and valve knocker locker will be stock, as will the valve knocker locker spring. We've got the frame screws that came stock, of course, the inner chassis, and in the inner chassis we have a stock valve knocker and a stock sear on a stock sear sleeve and a stock hammer sleeve. So that's all as it came in the original TM gun, and you can see there are some filing marks on this because it has been fitted into a Garda kit previously. What else have we got? We will be putting in a PDI 6.01 in a barrel with an Autobot 70-degree bucking. We have a dynamic precision lightweight aluminium set, and I've got to say this is an absolute identical match for the Cow product. It's even got the red hop-up wheel with the little screw in it. It's got the removable post, whether you're using a guide rod with a hole in it or not. It's identical to the Cow, which is not surprising because, as is my understanding, Dynamic Precision and Cow were born after UAC was disbanded. They have a common parentage, so I think that's the difference. Except Dynamic Precision includes a heat-graded hop-up arm, whereas the Cow doesn't come with an arm at all. So there's that. I've got additional bits that I need. Airsoft Masterpiece SV type grip safety, Airsoft Masterpiece SV wide thumb safeties. I bought wide because all of my other guns at the moment have the narrow ones, and somebody recommended the wider ones for competition shooting, especially as I'm a lefty. Maybe that extra width will help me somewhat. I don't know. We'll see. I have some odd items here from WeTech. I have some nozzle springs also that come with that pin that we saw in the Kimber kit. Honestly, I haven't seen these lately, and most builds do not use this. In fact, you know, it must stop the nozzle moving forward at some point, I guess, when the spring's at maximum compression. I've never used these WeTech piano steel wire loading nozzle springs before. I'm usually using the Cow NP1 silver nozzle spring. We'll give it a go, see if we like it. I have no idea if that's enhanced or what percentage by. I do have a WeTech steel plunger set, and I don't know if you can make that out. It's a bit difficult, but I love these things because the plunger that engages with the thumb safety is machined to a point, and that makes for a very positive lock on your thumb safety, either on or off. This is something that I've done to my plunger pins on other guns, but now I've found a supplier who can sell me the pre-pointy ones. That's great, especially if you're doing a black gun where you don't want that to be silver. The safety slide stop, plunger is rounded as normal to assist with getting that in and out. So I'm glad I found those. I hope they live up to their promise. And then I couldn't find an authentic D-ring hammer, Kimber style hammer. So at the moment I've got this. It's a ring hammer, pretty basic. This kit from WeTech also comes with a hammer spring and the head for the top of the hammer spring. That hammer spring looks very long, and we'll see how stiff it is. But unlike other companies, the WeTech hammer has the strut and the pin pre-installed, and like a proper hammer, it has the little nub on the side. So high hopes and a lot of promise there. I think that's covered all the parts that we'll be using. And so, the HurricanE Kimber Desert Warrior, or at least my version of it, is now almost complete, with just that little bit of lapping to do to get that slide moving freely. And I will try and update you with a video of this little baby in action. I've got to say that this Kimber kit has surprised me at being a higher quality than I thought it would be for $170 US. At that price point, I expected something along the lines of a cheaper Garda kit, but honestly, this has been much better. And of course, with the trigger and sights and slide stop and grips that we're not using, but all of these pieces were included. I just had to bring the internals for the slide to the table, except for the outer barrel, which came with the kit. I had to bring the hammer, inner chassis, safeties and mainspring housing. from a donor gun, but overall this has been a remarkably smooth build. The things that usually cause the most problems, like fitting the inner chassis, was no problem at all in this particular build. The things that I've not encountered before are the shoulders of the trigger ring being far too tight, the left hand thumb safety, of course, was too tight. That's something I've come across on Nova frames in the past. I think in this case, because the frame is coated, that's what's caused the issue. The selection of grip safety was not great because it's a high kappa safety, so it didn't have that undercut that we need for a 1911 build. And the mainspring housing came from an Airsoft Masterpiece lower frame, so we had to do a bit of fitting there to get that to slide in. It's still quite stiff, but I'm happy with that because it's not something that goes on and off a lot. Overall, I've been really pleased with this. The finish is excellent. I don't think it'll be a competition weapon, not without adding a magwell, but overall, I think that's a great little gun. So this is Twisty Customs, signing off.